Hey guys, you're watching BTech, I'm Basil, and this is my review of the Motorola Moto Z Play. This is a high-end mid-ranger, weird combination. You've got high-end design, mid-range specs, and high-end connectivity. You've got these Moto mods, and they pair with the phone to add some really cool functionality, such as this JBL sound booster loudspeaker. It's got its own kickstand. You just prop it up, it kind of pushes sound down, makes some awesome audio, and this projector, you've got a Hasselblad camera attachment as well, and an extended battery. But after a week and a half with this phone, which has mid-range specs and still costs £369, is it worth the money? This is my full review. Stay tuned to find out, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe. That's how you'll stay on top of everything we do. Kicking off with that look and feel, and this thing looks and feels great. Metal frame, 5.5 inches of screen. It has glass front and glass back as well. Feels very premium. You have got a camera bump, but it's a really stylized camera bump that looks fancy. Motorola insignia, connectors for those Moto mods, and you've got a fingerprint scanner below the display. It isn't a physical button. Long press it and you will still be able to activate a feature, and that's turn the screen off. And you can see either side, there aren't any buttons. All the navigation buttons are indeed on screen. Front 5-megapixel camera and a flash as well. Right hand side, volume and power buttons, while down at the base is that USB-C, and there is a headphone jack in spite of it being 7mm thin. No other buttons around either side, but up at the top is that micro SD and nano SIM card slot. Around the back you can also expect that 16-megapixel camera and NFC contact point. Ultimately, this thing loves fingerprints from the front to the back. It's where it's at fingerprint wise, but it also looks and feels fantastic in the process. Definitely flagship type design. With a 5.5-inch AMOLED screen, everything looks great. Vibrant, punchy colors, deep dark blacks. If you jump into the display settings, then you can customize your color mode. But you can't go into white balance customization or anything like that. You'll need a third-party app, but still, you can have things a little bit more subdued or nice, punchy and vibrant, just the way I like them. The UI of the Moto Z Play is a very stock take on Android 6. Most of the features inside look exactly like stock Android, but there are a few enhancements. For example, swipe up from the bottom and you can activate one-handed mode. Jump out of that by tapping the black area. You've also got twist to fire up that camera, and you've also got a karate chop to fire up that torch. Those things are neat additions, but at the heart of it is a very stable Android experience that looks and performs excellently. The multimedia experience here really is a tale of two halves. On the one hand, you've got the Moto mod functionality, which as you can see adds cool stuff like projector, loudspeaker, and awesome 10x zoom cameras. Now these should be noted as being a very expensive, very cool, but very expensive add-on. Definitely a value add, but it's not what I'm going to review in this video. Lucky for the Moto Z Play that it still manages to do a really decent job when it comes to multimedia. For starters, you can see that front speaker, nice, loud, difficult to cover up when gaming, holding it in landscape. You've also got a really great screen on here, and it's as simple as that. Everything just looks good. What lets it down is the Snapdragon 625 and the 3 gig of RAM. It does drop some frames here and there for more intensive 3D gaming, and I found generally gaming performance was the most inconsistent thing. Benchmarking isn't too shabby. You can see in Antutu it scored 62,269, which pits it very much in the mid-range territory. But in the same breath, jumping in and out of applications, playing games and stuff, if you're not really watching every single frame, should be doable. It's also got 32 gig of onboard storage paired with micro SD expandability. So if you think that's enough for you in your games, it seems to be enough for most of mine, though not my heavy RPGs, then the Moto Z Play will serve you very well indeed. The 16-megapixel rear camera definitely does a decent job, although it does suffer from major handshake issues. It would have really been served well with optical image stabilization. I'll jump into that in a sec, but quickly talking you around the UI. tap to focus and expose, and then you can expose afterwards. It does tend to overexpose a little bit. You'll be doing yourself a lot of favors by dropping the exposure, because that's also going to help with that handshake issue. You've got manual mode on here if you're very confident. It's called professional mode. The maximum shutter speed is only 1/6 of a second, so if you're thinking about light trails, it probably won't happen, but still you can get some great results, especially with that manual focus. Jumping out of that and looking at the actual results, and the front camera performs well even in low light. You can get some decent detail out of it. The rear camera, like I said, you really want to play about with it. It really wanted to overexpose this image. I had to drop the exposure just so that I could eke out something usable. But if you do in low light, then that's great, and it's also got a decent flash as well. Records up to 4K video, and the video looks really good. I actually found video performance in lower light was better than photo performance in many situations. The Z Play is super well connected. You've got NFC, you've also got Wi-Fi, GPS, everything like that. There's a USB-C at the base, so you're future-proof there. That's one up it has over the Lenovo P2, complete with turbocharging for that really nice and big 3500 milliamp battery, or 3510 even. It's also going to connect to the Moto mods I spoke about earlier. So provided you don't mind paying 60 odd quid for a really great loudspeaker, or potentially paying 200 plus quid for a projector, or 200 quid for a camera, then the Motorola Moto Z Play could be one of the best connected mid-rangers around. With 32 gig onboard storage and expansion via micro SD card, this phone will have plenty for most people out there, and that ginormous battery lasts a full day and then some. I usually round off my full days with around 30 odd % left, and I am definitely one of the most powerful power users I know. And that is why the Motorola Moto Z Play, in spite of being a little bit expensive for a Snapdragon 625 device, still gets a very solid 8 out of 10. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. If you did, click that thumbs up button, like the channel, subscribe. It's how you will stay on top of everything we do. Thank you for watching BTEX.